And if ladies want to sit on the floor, they may also do so, but you have to, I don't know, it depends how many devotees are coming. At this stage, I do not have a microphone. Maybe one will come by some arrangement. Only because I'm pushing it. But whether I could push it for an hour and a half, that remains to be seen. So, thank you so much for coming and giving us this opportunity to remember Srila Haridas Thakur and the holy name. Can you hear me at the back? Yes. The ladies, there's two ladies behind Harini. Can you hear me? Yes. There's no answer from those two ladies. Yes? Do you speak English? French also. French also. Yes. Very good. Wonderful. Are you from France? Yes. I came from Paris. From Paris. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming. And it's a great opportunity. We're a little bit, let's say, technological problems this morning, but by the Mahananda Prabhu managed to sort them out, and we're able to proceed. So a little bit, I wouldn't say panic is not the word, but a little bit sort of like disoriented trying to get this PowerPoint presentation together. So we didn't have time to do a few of the arrangements we'd have liked to have made, but they'll come gradually. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he emphasizes the importance of hearing about. Please don't use this door. Keep it. Oh, okay. Keep it locked if you can, please. You won't get through like this. I'm not sure what you want to do, but this is not a particularly good idea. We try to keep that door locked.
Yeah, I'm going to look it.
Pardon?
I'm going to look it.
Okay, great. I'm not sure what's happening behind the scenes here.
We're trying to get a microphone.
Oh, okay, fine. I should have brought my portable one today. Yeah, he describes how hearing about the pastimes, the teachings of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. He particularly mentions three persons, those two and Haridas Thakur. If we hear about them, then we can develop confidence, determination, and satisfaction. In many ways, you could say these are described. Confidence could be said also courage. He says courage, uses the word courage. Could be confidence and enthusiasm are essential factors or qualities on the path of devotion. So today we've been requested to speak a little bit on Haridas Thakur. In a long time, I may have spoken something here and there spontaneously, but it's a long time since we made let's say, an attempted systematic presentation of not just Haridas Thakur's life, but lessons to learn, practical lessons in our lives, and the significance of Haridas Thakur in our path back to Godhead. Some of you are distributing books on a regular basis, and oftentimes we talk about bridge preaching. You've heard this word, bridge preaching?
Yes.
We do it in Paris regularly. We go on the bridge and we distribute books on the bridge. It's quite good, but we don't mean just that. That is related, but generally bridge preaching, what does it mean? Jason?
Some preaching that is halfway between temple and the regular population.
Yeah, sort of like that, isn't it? It's to help bring people from where they are, which is basically speaking deeply absorbed in Maya, to a spiritual absorption, isn't it? At least to begin that process. In some ways we could say, in some ways you could say much of Srila Prabhupada's preaching was bridge preaching of a different kind, and Vaidhi Bhakti is a bridge preaching. Rules and regulations, temples, everything in some ways is bridge preaching. It's a means to an end, steps that we take towards our goal. We should have a goal beyond and above just, let's say, our day-to-day goals, our short-term, medium goals in life. We may have goals to distribute so many books, or to chant so many rounds, or to open temples, or to initiate disciples, or go to so many places and open temples, or whatever it may be. We may have a goals, maybe simple ones, that we're not going to eat anything unless it's offered to Krishna. These are good, but they're not, we could say, they're not ultimate. They're related, but they're relative, but they're not absolute in one sense. What's our absolute goal? Do we have one? Pardon? You're probably right, but I can't hear it. Prema. I heard the word prema. Who's speaking? Put your hand up. Oh, there you are. I was looking up in the sky. I wasn't looking down on the ground. Humble. Like Haridas Thakur, very humble. Yes. To awaken prema. Now, prema is an easy word. We can say we speak it in classes sometimes, and we read it and yes, our goal, Krishna prema. But in one sense, we can understand we're a little distanced from the real nature of Krishna prema. We may be related, but we're a little distant. You have relatives, close ones and distant ones. So they're related. We're all related to some degree. But to achieve Krishna prema is not a cheap thing. And we need all the help we can get. For a person to take up reading Prabhupada's books, most people are not ready, we sometimes have bridge books which help to entice them or interest their inclination towards spirituality or something. Something to help us to, like a carrot, something to attract us, our attention to move forward. Something is there. So we have that ultimate goal, but the means towards the goal seems to be quite long. And in many ways we could say that Haridas Thakur he's like our bridge between our conditioned efforts and the stage of pure devotional service, in many ways. And in many ways we can see Srila Prabhupada's parallel. Of course we could say Haridas Thakur was primarily a Bhajananandi, and Prabhupada was basically, to us, was Goshtyanandi in terms of his actions. Always preaching, always interacting with Haridas Thakur was primarily, even Lord Chaitanya one time asked Haridas Thakur about the glories of the holy name, for instance. And from that discussion we have a book called Harinam Chintamani, compiled by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And you'll see there that is primarily instructions on how the proper process of chanting. And then Lord Chaitanya asked Haridas to speak on, he spoke on Nama Aparad, but then he asked him to speak on Seva Aparad. And Haridas Thakur said, what do I know about Seva Aparad? I simply chant the holy name. I don't worship deities. He didn't even go in a temple, as you know, because of his birth and his humility, but he said, I can't say anything about Seva Aparad, but if you want me to, if that's your desire, then I'll speak. So he spoke, and he spoke on all the various Seva Aparads, but that was, of course, that's the empowered stage. He's He's not on a stage of a practicing devotee, although he behaves in a way, as Raghunath Das Goswami does too. Many great acharyas do, in order to teach us the proper process to follow, so we can achieve our goal. It's not just a question of the goal, of knowing the process, but there's a proper process, and by executing the process correctly, one can achieve one's ultimate goal. So our goal is Krishna Prema. Krishna Prema sounds to many people like absolute enjoyment. You know, we're trying to be the enjoyers. Our nature is a little like that, but absolute enjoyment. Krishna Prema, Prabhu. I want Krishna Prema. Give me Krishna Prema. It's like, no. Give me another gulab. You know, it's like a childlike approach, you could say. It's not exactly that. Krishna Prema is not something you kind of get like that. It's already there, but it's our, you could say, our eternal characteristic. But there's another aspect of Krishna Prema, or our ultimate goal. It's not about how I feel and my pleasure and what have you, but it's really all about being who we are and understanding who we are, our constitutional nature. Not just I am spirit soul, but our eternal relationship with Krishna. That eternal relationship with Krishna, we know the foundation or the root of that is servant of Krishna. But in what way we serve Krishna? This is what pleases Krishna when we're actually situated in our constitutional position. It's a big subject, we won't go into it now. But that's our goal. And in that situation, that is bringing the most pleasure to Krishna. It's like if you have a relationship in your family, when the members of the family play their part as you hope they will, you feel good. Your husband, your wife, your kids, and everybody else all plays their part according to your will or the way you would like it. Then it's nice arrangement. When they don't, it becomes disharmonious, huh? And thing breaks down. That's why we're in this material world. So Krishna consciousness is to become harmonious with the will of Krishna. And this particular stage of the millennium, the age we're in this millennium, Kali Yuga, we all know the method, we don't have to go into that. The Sankirtan, the chanting of the holy name, is the means. But even if you have the theory, one has to know how to practically apply it. So Haridas Thakur is teaching us how to practically apply the process in this age of awakening Krishna Prema in our hearts. Nityasiddha Krishna Prema is eternally situated in our heart, this tendency or this natural proclivity to love Krishna in the way that he likes. Not the way we like, it will also become the way we like, but pure devotional service is focused on that. It's actually not focused on our own gratification, but on Krishna's pleasure. We learn that from those, as emphasized again and again. If we want to see a transformation in our attitude, our approach to Krishna consciousness and everything else related to it, then the association of those who are properly situated is essential. At what stage and at what degree, but the principle is there. On different levels, we associate through books, we associate through tapes, we associate through personal interaction, remembrances, and so on. They're all essential. And even in our own movement, Prabhupada created this ISKCON movement. He said particularly he wanted to create a movement of pure devotees. He wants us also to give that association. Lord Chaitanya wanted. This is how the movement will really spread, not just in quantitative forms, but in qualitative forms also. So we'll proceed on, and hopefully we'll gain some benefit from associating with, on this platform at least, with Haridas Thakur, who is teaching us how to go from Namaparad to Shuddhanam. Definitely. And he's acting as if he's a practitioner. He's born in, as you know, we'll hear about that in a minute, his birth, his situation in society, how he's accepted or not accepted, his behavior, his interaction with devotees, his humility, his tolerance, his respect. Everything is, perfect for us to try to follow. We can't imitate, but we can follow the principle which he's established. So we're going to sing a song to begin with. It's called Kabe Habi Bolo, as we're been asked to relate this. Of course, you can't really talk about Haridas Thakur without mentioning the holy name. It's synonymous. Haridas Thakur being the Nama Acharya Haridas Thakur is the teacher of the holy name and teacher of the means where we can chant the holy name in Krishna consciousness. Okay, this is a poetic translation, I think. Let's see. When, oh when will that day be mine? When my offences ceasing, taste for the name increasing? When in my heart will your mercy shine? When, oh when will that day be mine? Lower than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. When will my mind find that attain this quality? Respectful to all, not expecting their honour, then shall I taste the name's nectar sublime. When, oh when will that day be mine? You'll see a more literal translation in the songbook. This is a very old translation from 1972 in the original songbook. Great wealth of followers, feminine beauty. I won't care for them or the comforts of my body. Birth after birth, give me, O Lord Chaitanya, causeless devotion to your feet divine. When, oh when will that day be mine? When will I utter, Krishna, 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 with words choked up and shivering body? When will I tremble all over and lose bodily colour, tears pouring from my eyes? When, oh when will that day be mine? When in Navadweep, along the Ganges bank, shouting Gaur Nityananda as a surrendered soul, dancing, chanting, running everywhere, when will I become half mad of mind? When, oh when will that day be mine? When will Lord Nityananda show mercy to me? When will I reject the world of Maya? Bestow unto me the shade of your lotus feet. Let the right to preach the name be mine. When, oh when will that day be mine? Is a result, of course, of tasting the name, of associating with Krishna in his Namarupa, is that one wants to give it to others. Natural feeling for the increasing of the pleasure of Krishna. Haridas was not just a Bhajananandya in any means, he was also preaching, as you may know. Probably you've heard it many times, the pastimes of Jagaya Madhaya and so on, how he was going out and preaching the holy name also. He wanted to see everybody immersed in the chanting of the holy name. When will Lord Nityananda show mercy to me? When will I reject the world of Maya? Bestow unto me the shade of your lotus feet. Let the right to preach the name be mine. When, oh when will that day be mine? I will beg, borrow, or steal the nectar of the name. By the name's effect I will feel paralyzed. O enjoyer of the nectar of the name, when will I touch your lotus feet till the end of time? When, oh when will that day be mine? When kindness to all beings will be appearing, with free heart forget myself comforting. Bhaktivinoda in all humility prays. Now we'll set out to preach your order sublime. When, oh when will that day be mine? Very beautiful song compiled by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So please sing along. Habe habe bolo sedinama. Habe habe bolo sedinama. Aparada guci, Shudaname ruci, Kripa bole habe, Hridaye sancha. Kabe habe bolo sedinama. Tina di kahina, kabini jemani, sahishnutta guna de doye deyami. Sakale manada, apani amani, hoye ashwadivo, namarasa san. Who wants to press the button? Habe habe bolo sedinama. Habe habe bolo sedinama. Jana jana ara Kopita sundari Volibona chahi Devo sukha kari. What about the charging? Is it fully charged? Does it need charging? Jamme jamme dayo Ohe gora hari Ahai tuki bhakti charane toma. Habe habe bolo sedinama. Habe habe bolo sedinama. Kadite Shri Krishna Nama Ucharana Pulakita Deho Gadgada Vachana. Hai banya be patu, habe sangatana, nirantara netre, vabe ashruda. Habe habe bolo sedinama. Habe bolo sedinama. Kavinava dvipe suradunitate Gora nityananda boli niskapate. Kabinavadvipe Suraduritate Goranyananda Boli Atiagaya Hebeari Bochute Patulera Praya Charya Picha Kabe habe bolo sedinama Kabe habe bolo sedinama Kabe nityananda more koridoya Sharibe mora Ishayara maya Tia morenija charanera chaya namera hate te divayadika Kobe hobe bolo sedin amar Habe habe bolo sedin amar Kini bolu tibo harinama rasa Nama rase mati hoibo vibasha Rasera rasika charana parasha Koriyamo jibo rase aniba Habe habe bolo sedinama Habe habe bolo sedinama Tabe jibe doya Hoibe udoya Nija sukha boli sudinare doya Akati binara Kariya binaya Shiagyata hala koribe pacha Kabe habe bolo sedinama Kabe habe bolo sedinama Kabe habe bolo sedinama Kabe habe bolo Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Go Premanande, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai, Shri Sri Gaur Nitai ki jai. Go Premanande, all glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to Shri Guru and Guru, all glorious to Shri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Ti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Vacharine Nirvasesha Sanivari Pastacharya Shitani. Om Jnana Timarandasya Dhananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Hare Krishna. We're going to try to, in the short time we have today, more or less a kind of introduction, we could say, to the glories of Haridas Thakur. Many years ago, I don't know the exact year, but we started to compile a book on Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur. In the meantime, after several years in that direction, some of these paintings you see here were part of that. They were preliminary experimentations painted in Jagannath Puri by one of the Jagannath Puri artists, Aryan style. But in the meantime, we spent some time with Rupa Vilas Prabhu, who those you probably know him. He's living in the UK. Many of you will know him. And he is quite well known as an author, a writer. He compiled books on Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Shordas Babaji, Jagannath Das, and others, books he compiled. And he also is compiling a book on Haridas Thakur, so I just left it to him because he's a writer and this is his life and soul. So he produced a beautiful book, and if you haven't got it, I don't know if it's still available, it's called Namacharya. Have you got that book? Who's got that book? Some of you have it. A very wonderful book which covers pretty much, you could say, the revealed. I mean, it's like an iceberg. How much of an iceberg is revealed is only a little bit. So a few of the drops of nectar of association with Haridas Thakur are revealed in that book. And some of the very, very important follow-on understanding, lessons, whatever you wish to call it, are also presented in that book. It's very worth, definitely go through it. A wonderful book. And as we've already mentioned, we have the Harinam Chintamani, which is a conversation between Lord Chaitanya and Haridas Thakur. Some people think this is a kind of a, what would we call it, that Bhaktivinoda Thakur has kind of created this, but actually, if you see the words of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he actually wrote it based upon a book which was compiled by somebody anonymously, an associate sometime after Haridas Thakur's appearance, who heard from his spiritual master this conversation, which apparently was an actual conversation between Lord Chaitanya and Haridas Thakur. And that was recorded in notes, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur has put it together in the book called Harinam Chintamani. It's not just his own, vision of some sort. That may be there too. But it's actually based upon a reality of an event which took place. So we can read it about. Are you all going? Where are you all going? Everyone's leaving. Hare Krishna, thank you for coming. Haribol. Well, maybe I should go too. Leave you in peace. No? I don't, everyone's all. Yeah! All those in favor, put your hands up. Unanimous decision. What to do? Hare Krishna. Haribol. So many times we can read in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, probably you've read. There are several books where the history, you can't deny it. You have to deny the entire Chaitanya Leela if you deny some of the pastimes of Haridasa. Because in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, and in other places too, we find records or the pastimes of Haridas Thakur are mentioned there. We also find in Navarit Mahatmya of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, another compilation, history of Haridas Thakur's, particularly is, let's say, how he came on the desire of Lord Chaitanya into this world. So today we hear a little bit about his identity, his glories, hopefully, which are unlimited, just a little bit. And maybe see how time goes. And then if we're still allowed to, tomorrow and the day after, we will try to share between us some of the wonderful nectarian pastimes of Haridas Thakur. Pastimes which Lord Chaitanya himself relished over and over again. He himself relished these pastimes more than his own. So we'll move on. We're going to, a poem which many of you know Dravida. Who knows Dravida Prabhu? Who knows Dravida Prabhu from America? He lives in San Diego mostly. Anybody know Dravida? No? You know Dravida? No. Okay. So anyway, I don't think he travels much these days, but BBT, editor, writer, wonderful devotee, lifetime brahmachari, lifetime. And he helped in the compilation of the 11th canto, 12th canto, 10th canto Bhagavatams, the translations and purports, along with others. And he's very poetic, He knows, I don't think he's absolutely fluent in Sanskrit, but he knows a lot of Sanskrit and he works with others who do. So he put this very ancient poem, which again is anonymous, is a poem about the holy name, written in Sanskrit, put it into English, and this is one of his many beautiful poems which we'll read. It's called Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Oh, this is also very beautiful. This is the essence, you could say, of our hope and our prayers, is that we will develop a little bit of an attraction for chanting the holy name and become a little bit determined to chant without offense. And by Haridas Thakur's grace, we hopefully can make some progress there, chanting the holy name purely. But we'll move on. This is a poem. It's versified by Dravida Prabhu. Of sweet things it's the sweetest you will taste at any time. Of things that bring good fortune is good fortune's paradigm. Of things that purify, it purifies most powerfully. The holy name of Sri Hari is surely all that be. The holy name of Sri Hari is surely all that be. From Brahma's realm atop the sky down to the lowly grass, illusion reigns in Maya Devi's treacherous morass. The truth, the only truth, the name of Sri Hari, the holy name of Sri Hari, is surely all that be. He's the Guru, he's the Father, he's the friend most true, and she's the real mother who most kindly teaches you to always chant and hear the holy name of Sri Hari. The holy name of Sri Hari is surely all that be. Remember that our final breath may come at any time, no matter if we're old and sick or in our youthful prime. So young and old alike should chant the name incessantly. The holy name of Sri Hari is surely all that be. Lord Sri Hari forever dwells wherever devotees, whose hearts are fixed on him and free of all impurities, uplift their voices high and sing his name in ecstasy. The holy name of Sri Hari is surely all that be. Alas, what sorrow, what great pain, the worst calamity, for people to forget the holy name of Sri Hari. Although the name's a priceless gem, mere broken glass they see, the holy name of Sri Hari is surely all that be. Just fill your ears, just fill them with the name of Sri Hari. Just chant the name with all sincerity. Just sing the name, just sing the holy name eternally. The holy name of Sri Hari is surely all that be. It makes this world appear like bits of straw upon the ground. It splendorously reigns supreme, divinity in sound. It's filled with transcendental bliss and peerless purity. The holy name of Sri Hari is surely all that be. Inspired to glorify the holy name of Sri Hari, a certain sage composed this hymn in Sanskrit poetry. I pray that those who read this lowly version made by me will chant the holy name of Sri Hari in constant ecstasy. The holy name of Sri Hari is surely all that be. Harinam. Haribo. 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 Nice poem. Huh? Thank you, Dravida Prabhu. So let us try to focus our hearts on lotus feet of our Guru, Gauranga, and also on Haridas Thakur, and try to enter into his association a little bit, at least, today. And maybe over the next 3 or 4 days, as long as you're here, we can try to increase our chanting, try to chant with more sincerity, with more attention, more consciousness, and chant more. Let's move forward. with a, you can say a Mangalacharana type prayer to Haridas, all together. Namami Haridasam Tang Chaitanyam Tang Chatat Prabhum Sangstitam Apiyang Murting Spanike Kritpananartayaha. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, and you can see the references there. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Haridas Thakur and his master, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who danced with the body of Haridas Thakur on his lap. You know this. Picture is, I don't know if it's on the wall. Is it on the wall, Mananda? It's up here, this famous painting. We haven't got a full-size one here, but this famous depiction of Lord Chaitanya dancing with Haridas Thakur after his departure. And this is the first verse of that chapter, the departure of Haridas Thakur in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Is graphically described. If time allows, we'll deal with that on the last day. That we've already mentioned. We don't need to mention that before again. Sri Chaitanya, also Chaitanya Charitamrita, many of these quotes are from, mostly all from Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu derives great pleasure from glorifying his devotees. And among the devotees, Haridas Thakur is the foremost. The transcendental qualities of Haridas Thakur are innumerable and unfathomable. One may describe a portion of them. You imagine trying to describe the qualities of somebody you know. How long can you talk? And maybe, who knows whether they're positive or negative qualities which you describe. The qualities of Haridas Thakur are unlimited, innumerable, unfathomable. It's almost beyond our imagination. One may describe a portion of them, but to count them all is impossible. Even Anantashesh, the expansion of Lord Balaram, the couch of Lord Vishnu, will be unable to describe the transcendental qualities of Haridas Thakur. Never ending. In the Chaitanya Mangala, which we now is known as Chaitanya Bhagavat, of course, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has described the attributes of Haridas Thakur to some extent. No one can describe all the qualities of Haridas Thakur. One may say something about them just to purify himself. A nice lesson, purifying, when we speak truthfully the qualities of others, positively speaking of devotees, let's say. They're good qualities. This is Chaitanya Bhagavat. I assure you that one who simply chants the name of Haridas without offense will certainly attain the abode of Krishna. What to speak of his touch? Just by seeing Haridas, one is released from the bondage of fruitive activities. Indeed, even if one sees a person who has taken shelter of Haridas, he is freed from material bondage. Everyone, whether elevated or wretched, automatically forgets about mundane life when he sees the lotus feet of Srila Haridas Thakur. We have a little deity of Haridas Thakur here on the little, whatever you want to call it, table here, a little altar-like table. Bit dark right now, you can't see him very well. It's like a cave. Haridas Thakur spent a lot of his life in a cave, chanting the holy names. Everyone, We read that. One who sees Haridas's dancing is free from all bondage. Yes, he was a dancer also. When Haridas dances, Lord Krishna personally dances. Thus the whole universe can be purified by seeing his dance. His name, Haridas, is appropriate, for Lord Krishna constantly dwells in his heart. He is affectionate to all living entities, and he is always engaged in their welfare. He accompanies the Lord wherever he incarnates, whenever he incarnates. He is never offensive to Vishnu or the Vaishnavas, and even in a dream he does not deviate from the proper path. One who associates with Haridas for even a fraction of a moment will certainly attain shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva always desire to associate with a devotee like Haridas. You'll see some very questionable statements here, which may raise some, let's say, doubts or may raise some queries in your heart. This is one of them. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva always desire to associate with a devotee like Haridas. And many of you may also already, let's say, be aware of why there could be a doubt here, and many of you may have an answer to that. Let's see, that will come up in a minute, I think. People would gather around him just to see the unrestricted tears of Krishna prema that flowed profusely from his eyes, drenching his entire body. Even the strictest atheists marveled at his behavior. Horripilation swelled across his body like thousands of blooming flowers, and even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva were amazed by his devotion. Thakur Haridas was the actual knower of the transcendental mellows related with Krishna, and he is the principal teacher for understanding rasa shastras, or literatures filled with the transcendental mellows related with Krishna. Another question or doubt may arise there. We don't usually hear this aspect of Haridas Thakur. We hear, of course, about the chanting and about his various pastimes and his relationship with Lord Chaitanya, but here, the principal teacher for understanding Rasa Shastra. We don't usually hear about that. What to speak of Lord Brahma aspiring for his association. Mahabhakta Haridas Thakur Jaya Jaya Haridasa Sanarane Sarva Papakshaya. All glories to the great devotee Haridas Thakur. By remembering Haridas, all one's sinful reactions are vanquished. Just like by remembering the holy name, chanting the holy name. Of course, it was mentioned without offense earlier on. It's assumed offenselessly that all one's sinful reactions are vanquished. That's not the goal of our life, is it? You didn't say that earlier on. When I asked you your goal, my goal is to vanquish all of my sinful reactions. You ever hear a devotee say that? No. Some people may say that, but generally a devotee doesn't. The goal is to become free of my sinful or sins or sinful reactions, whatever. Deliver me from my sins. Many people may think like that, but that's not the goal of a devotee. But that's an effect, preliminary effect of associating with such a great devotee, a preliminary effect of chanting Hare Krishna also, one could say, but it's not the goal. Haridas Thakur can also, let's say, reveal that goal. He can also bring us to that goal if we follow in his footsteps. So let's see who he is. That question may have come up. We don't know. There's even deliberation amongst the great devotees in this regards in terms of who he is. They have different perspectives. And we hear different things from different shastric statements. And sometimes devotees don't get particular. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj did not go too specifically into it. He quoted the various statements which are there. But he said he didn't want to create any kind of differences or quarrel or whatever you call it. Haridas Thakur, this is from Gorganadesh Dipika, another literature. Some of you may have read this literature, it's available. You know who wrote this literature? Who knows? Gorganadesh Dipika. Who was a compiler? Kavi Karnapura, his name was the son of Shivananda Sain. And he's considered by our acharyas to be the authorized compiler in terms of this particular account. This book deals with the position or of the various associates of Lord Chaitanya, who they are in Krishna Lila, or whatever Lila they're in. Some are in Ram Lila. Haridas Thakur is a combined incarnation of Brahma Mahatapa, the son of Rishika Muni, and Prahlad Maharaj. The respected Murari Gupta has written in his Chaitanya Charita Mahakavya that this Muni's son picked a tulsi leaf. This is a really big lesson here. Let's listen to this one. Picked a tulsi leaf and offered it to Krishna without having washed it first. Whew. His father then cursed him to become a mlecha in his next life. Whew. Be careful, especially those who are doing any form of deity worship here. Of course, we don't have to worry too much. We're mlechas in this life, so we're already mlechas. We're trying to change our identity. He was thus born as Haridas, a great devotee. So, anyway, this is what it says in Gorganadesh Dipika. You see, it doesn't sound very kind of like transcendental in one sense. Obviously, there's a lot more to it. Nothing more is said. But what is interesting here is combined incarnation. Combined incarnation. We've already heard that he descends along with the Lord every time he incarnates. We'll hear how he's an eternal associate of the Lord. He never leaves the Lord's association. He's not a ordinary jiva. Two kinds of jivas, where we're coming from Tatashta, the Tatashta jiva, Shakti. But there's also the internal jivas, they're never conditioned souls. Nityasiddhas. We can't exactly become Nityasiddhas, they're eternal. But we can develop that same state, you could say, or mood of service. But that propensity of the Tatastha Shakti is free will. The internal associates never express anything but the internal servants of bringing pleasure to Krishna. He's one of those Nityasiddhas. So it's not that he becomes Haridas. We hear this many times. Somebody becomes Nanda and Yasoda, doesn't it? Who knows who became Nanda and Yasoda in their pastimes 5,000 years ago? Who became Nanda and Yasoda? Is that a trick question or is it a real one? Okay, what's the real answer? Who became Nanda and Yasoda? Huh? I can't hear. Huh? Louder? Someone's saying something and someone's going like this.
She's saying Mother Sachi is Mother Yashoda.
No, but who became Mother Yasoda in Krishna's pastimes? Yes, certainly Mother Sachi and Mother Yasoda are one and the same. But who became Mother Yasoda? It is in the Krishna book, it's in the Bhagavatam. Pardon? Drona and Dara. Well, Drona became Nanda and Dara became Mother Yasoda. So, did they really become? it makes it sound like Yasoda and Nanda didn't exist before. They kind of like, were created or something, It's not quite like that, but it's described how, and whether this is the same thing here, we don't know. There's no reference. But these type of things happen in Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna's pastimes. That Nanda and Yasoda expand into Drona and Dara. They show the means of developing the mood of worship of Nanda and Yasoda. Those who are in Vatsalya Bhav, they show the process, how to develop, how to purify, how to actually perfect that mood of service. And when Nanda and Yasoda actually appear, then they merge back into their forms. They're withdrawn back in. The same. It's an expansion for a certain purpose. So sometimes the eternal associates, the internal ones, the Nityasiddhas, not the Jivas, but the Nityasiddhas, they expand sometimes along with the Lord for various purposes in different leelas, just like Prahlad. It's not that Prahlad is now no longer Prahlad, he's now Haridas Thakur. He expands, that spirit, that mood of service expands into the form of Haridas. So whether Haridas is like Haridas, and they're entering into his associate, Lord Brahma, we'll hear about that in a minute, entering into his form or enter into his association, or they become him, that's a mystery. But you can see these type of things do happen, that certain personalities, they have these many different potencies of the Lord, many different aspects of the Lord in their particular manifestation like that. Or those eternal associates expand in various ways to display certain characteristics and then merge back into the original form. These things happen beyond our, you can say, conception. On the Mahaprakash day, Lord Chaitanya, this is the Mahaprakash pastimes took place in Srivas Angan, where Lord Haridas Thakur was residing. Lord Chaitanya would go there regularly after his initiation from Ishwara Puri, along with his associates, and there they would perform tremendous kirtans, and at one time the Lord revealed to everyone his identity according to the individual devotee's particular relationship. So that was Mahaprakash Day. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Haridas Thakur and informed him that he was none other than an incarnation of Prahlad Maharaj. Haridas Thakur is known as Namacharya because it is he who preached the glories of chanting Harinam, the holy name of God, by using the words Tomar Avatara, your incarnation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms that Haridas Thakur is the incarnation of Lord Brahma. So another one comes in now. We've got Mahatapa, Brahma Mahatapa, we've got Lord Brahma, and we've never got Prahlad Maharaj. There might be a few others too, but they're not mentioned. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that advanced devotees help the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his mission, and that such devotees or personal associates incarnate by the will of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord incarnates by his own will, and by his will competent devotees also incarnate to help him in his mission. Haridas Thakur is thus the incarnation of Lord Brahma. That's usually the one we know about, isn't it? Lord Brahma took birth as Haridas Thakur. That's usually the one we hear. And that's true. Of course, there can be a lot more said about that. And let's hear something about that. Chanting. Well, we'll leave that for now, I think. Can we ask them to be a little quieter on the drum, do you think? I know it's kirtan time, but at least play it very quietly. There's a pastime account recounted in Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Navadvip Dham Mahatmya, this literature we mentioned already. And this goes back actually to the time of Krishna's pastimes. It also infers a little bit towards the actual, let's say, constitutional relationship of Lord Brahma with who is he? who is he? And we sometimes think, oh, he's just in reverence, he's just in, Aishvarya Bhav. He can't appreciate these things. And Haridas Thakur must be like that or something. Have you ever read the Brahma Samhita? Anyone ever read Brahma Samhita? Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty elevated book. It's one of the two literatures which Lord Chaitanya heralded as the most, dear. It's not just a book of, neophyte practices. It reveals the absolute truth. It reveals the divinity. It reveals the relationship, the rasa. In there you see that Lord Brahma is considering himself to be a maidservant of the Lord in Goloka. Other places he contemplates being a coward boy. He's not just an ordinary, well, nothing's ordinary about Lord Brahma, but from an absolute point of view, Lord Brahma is not really, he's managing the universe or whatever you call it. Not a very significant role from the absolute platform. From our platform is inconceivable. But he's more than that, and we'll see that. So in this pastime, in Lord Krishna's Leela, when he appeared in this world, is the famous Brahma Vimohana Leela. You've heard that Leela? What is that Leela?
He take the calves and cows.
Yes. When Lord Brahma appears to steal away the cows and the coward boys, It's interesting because this is a coward boy pastime, and Lord Brahma is watching these pastimes very intently, and he has different intentions, by the way. We only usually hear one of them, which was, he got puffed up and thought, who is this guy? He's nothing compared with me. I'll teach him a lesson. We sometimes hear something like that, isn't it? It's a bit rough worded, but more or less like that. But if we read deeper, we'll see that Lord Brahma was also thinking, well, I want to do something now which will make my life and soul, my Lord, perform pastimes even more inconceivable than what he's done so far. So let me think of something to do which will cause that to happen. So this was one of the reasons. Another reason was I want to make it seen by everybody that he is the source of me, Shiva, and everyone else that people may worship. He was thinking like that too. So he had some positive approaches, not just, what is this? This is God stealing butter from his friend's plate, playing around like a little kid in the forest. Is this God? Most people can't conceive of this being God, isn't it? I mean, for most people, even the idea that God has pastimes is inconceivable or unacceptable. Even that he has a name or a form is unacceptable to many people, isn't it? Even whole religions have this problem. They speak of individuals, so it's pretty inconceivable. So Lord Brahma was also scratching his heads, and is this really my worshipable Lord? He had enough hands to do that. How many hands do you have? It's difficult to scratch 4 heads with 2 hands. Anyway, whatever. He was wondering, curious. Curiosity kills the cat, so they say. So he showed off his own paltry opulences and thought, I will now test the Lord's opulences, see if this is really him or not. Check him out, So the coward boys were in the forest with their calves, and the calves wandered off into the forest, deep into the forest, and suddenly they could see them no more. Coward boys were taking breakfast or taking their snack, whatever it was, their brunch, and they got word, where are the calves gone? Where are they gone? Oh, don't worry, Krishna said. You stay here and enjoy. I'll go and I'll bring them back, don't worry. So he wandered off into the forest alone. All Krishna's arrangement. Yogamaya is arranging everything here. And then he went into the forest, and in the meantime, Lord Brahma thought, now is my chance. And he stole away the coward boys. He's already pinched the calves. Now he's pinched the coward boys. And as you may well know, he stuck them in caves, right? Put them all in caves. Sealed the caves, put them all in the caves. They were all kind of, put them asleep, all in the caves. There they were. And then Lord Krishna came back. He saw that no one was there. He neither found the calves nor the cowherd boys were there anymore. Imagine what you think. So what did Krishna do? Started crying, right? Started crying and ran home to Mummy. They all disappeared. Where's my son? They just disappeared in the forest. Gone. He expanded himself unlimitedly into every identical form of calf and cowherd boy, with the same everything, the same behavior patterns, the same everything. No one could recognize anything had happened at all. Nobody. Not even Lord Balaram. Yogamaya covered everyone, and this pastime was going on by Yogamaya's arrangement. After 1 year, Lord Brahma, one moment, he just basically turned his back on and quickly looked back, realizing, oh God, what have I just done? This is I may have put myself in the soup here. And he just quickly looked back, and sure enough, he had the shock of his life. 1 year of earth had passed. Just a flash of a moment in his lifetime. What did he see? It looked like nothing had happened. Everything was exactly the same. He quickly looked in the caves, and the boys were sleeping away in the caves. He looked on the bank of the Yamuna, and there they were. And there were the calves. And looked in there, the calves in the cave. What is going on here? He became very bewildered. And of course, Krishna revealed what was really going on, and he came to his senses and surrendered to the Lord, realizing his opulences are totally pathetic, paltry in comparison to the Lord. So the Lord expanded himself in so many ways like this. Anyway, putting that aside, he then became very remorseful and offered those wonderful prayers, which is described, I think, maybe Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes those prayers as the basic foundation of that transformation from our doubtfulness to our, removal of doubts in relationship with Krishna. This is a foundational. Funny enough, Prabhupada stopped right at that chapter before he went on in his translations and purports. He didn't go that far. Stopped right at that moment. But this is the springboard for entering into, you could say, the proper understanding or the proper approach to pure devotional service. So he then offered those wonderful prayers, and still he wasn't. And the Lord was a little bit, what's the word? Non-plus or something, nonchalant. He wasn't really overboard, and he was sat there listening to these beautiful prayers, but he didn't really respond much. It didn't look like his heart was melting and he was over impressed or anything. And Lord Brahma went back feeling, when you do that, sometimes you can feel it didn't really work quite right, Then he felt really bad about what he did, and he didn't feel relieved in any way, even though he offered beautiful prayers and asked for forgiveness and this and that. So he decided he would do some tapasya. And he went off to the eternal Navadvip Dham, which is, now we have the chance at least to go on the surface of that Dham. And there he performed his austerities in what is now called Antardvip, the area of Antardvip. There are many islands there in Navadvip, Antardvip. And there he performed these austerities with the intention of trying to free himself. What was he trying to free himself of? He realized one thing, that there's the major hurdle that we face, and those who were here a few weeks ago when Devaki Mataji was here will know. What is the major hurdle that we have in our relationship with Krishna? From our perspective, I'm talking here. Yes, Prabhu. Envy. Where does envy come from? False ego. False ego. False ego is seeing anything separate from Krishna. Whether it's our own opulences or someone else's or whatever it may be. Any object, anything, anybody separate from Krishna. The result of false ego. So he felt like, I was conquered by my false ego, you could say, so he wanted to overcome this false ego. So he went there, and eventually, after whatever time it was, the Lord appeared, and this is how it became Antardweep. Very confidential pastime. Don't reveal it to anyone, it's internal. So the Lord appeared, but he appeared in the form of Gauranga, not in the form of Krishna, before Brahma. And Brahma was overwhelmed when he saw his Lord in this form. He revealed himself in that form to Brahma and told him. So Brahma humbly submitted himself to overcome his false ego. The Lord said, okay, my next appearance in this world, you will appear as my chief associate practically in spreading the holy name. And there and then, the Lord said, your name will be Haridas. And your sadhana will be to chant non-stop, 3 lakhs of names. Sometimes the question comes up, who initiated Haridas Thakur? So in one sense, he was initiated directly by Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu before he even appeared. Because he immediately started that sadhana when he was a young man. Even before Lord Chaitanya appeared in this world, he was chanting 3 lakhs of names. So it was a very unique pastime, and the Lord said, and you will take birth in the family of Mlechas, Yavanas to be precise, Muslims, in a Muslim family, a lowly family. In this way, this will both satisfy Lord Brahma's desire to become free of false ego. His whole life was one of persecution, practically speaking. Practically. And also at the same time to assist or to fulfill my mission that every single living entity is eligible for Krishna consciousness, no matter where you're born. You will display this. This will be shown by your taking this form in my next incarnation, my next appearance. So like that, so then he asked him never to reveal this to anyone, but of course the pure devotees can see it, and they do reveal it because it's very important. And then, of course, when Lord Chaitanya appeared himself, then Haridas Thakur, he had already appeared. He already appeared in this world. 36 years, more or less, before Lord Chaitanya appeared. And most of the pastimes that we will hear took place before the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, or before Lord Chaitanya was initiated by Ishwar Puri. So let's move on a little bit, because time is running out. We've only got a couple of minutes left, actually. But I think we'll leave it at that for today. It's 5 minutes to 1, 3 minutes, 4 minutes to 1. Any comments? We've hardly started. Jason?
Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Jivadharma Maharaj.
Excuse me?
Is this something that you appreciate?
Excuse me?
Bhaktivinoda Thakur's
Jivadharma.
Is
Yes.
this a book that you appreciate?
Haridas Thakur appreciates. Is that what you're saying? Jivadharma was compiled by Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Yes.
And how is that related to Haridas?
I just wanted to get your
I know,
if you like.
off the top of my head, I know no direct relationship there between the compilation of Jivadharma and Haridas Thakur directly. That's another topic, you could say, Jivadharma, which is a big subject in itself, isn't it? Yes, Prabhu.
I'm trying to wrap my head around the incarnation of Haridas Thakur. So he was.
Excuse me?
I'm trying to wrap my head around the incarnation of Haridas Thakur. So he was Prahlad Maharaj in his past life.
Well, there you go. See, past life. That immediately means we don't understand what's going on. There's no question of past life for eternal associates of the Lord. Their pastimes are eternal. There's no past life. They may appear within the scope of time from our perspective, but from the absolute perspective, they're eternal. Yes, the Prabhupada always gives the example of the sun, which appears in the morning and disappears at night. The sun is always existing. Or if you look out the window, sometimes a bird comes into view, and disappears. The bird was there already, and the bird's already still there when it disappears. Pure devotees' pastimes are eternal. They manifest according to the will of the Lord in different places, at different times, in different forms. There's many angles of looking at this, and it's not concluded because our acharyas leave it at an unconclusive stage. I've mentioned one, which is the possibility of a similar incident with Drona and Dara taking place here, of an eternal associate of the Lord appearing, and others have expanded from him for various purposes, enter back into him. That's one thing. Another is others appear. We only think of association on the gross platform. We don't understand it on the subtle platform, what to speak of the spiritual platform. You can associate an elevated person, especially Lord Brahma, who doesn't have a gross body, can associate on the subtle platform. It's not just Lord Brahma has a gross form or something. He doesn't have a gross form. His body is totally subtle. So they can associate on a subtle platform also, away beyond their imagination. That's another possibility. The other possibility is that those particular personalities manifest at different stages in that particular pastime. In other words, it's said, for instance, when Haridas was being beaten in the marketplace, that was distinctly Prahlad Maharaj, that was not Lord Brahma. Whichever way you want to look at that. So there's many different angles of vision to this subject, but it's beyond time measurement. You can't put time factors like previous life, decay. You can't use these words in terms of, they're used, but they're not used in the same way that you use them materially. Mataji, one of the Matajis had her hand up.
Yeah, I just want to go back to what you were saying before. So, Brahma Mahatapa, the son of Krichika Muni, is also Brahma. He's the same person?
No, a different person.
So, because it appears like in the two texts.
Two Brahmas are there,
Yeah.
Brahma Mahatapa and Lord Brahma.
But they both could complete Prahlad Maharaj.
Yes.
So there's two people, Prahlad Maharaj.
Three persons you've got now, Prahlad Maharaj, Lord Brahma and Brahma Mahatapa.
So they were like different moments.
They appear as different individuals in those forms, and as I just mentioned a little bit just now, we cannot conclude how this works. You can say what you like, but you can't absolutely state. But they're all considered to be Haridas Thakur. Whether at certain times they appear there, whether they're there all the time and one of them manifests themselves, or they're in mood, if you want to call it that, at certain times, whether they're one and the same, that they're originally Haridas, they expand as Brahma Mahatapa to teach that lesson, they expand as Lord Brahma to serve the Lord in that way. It's like even in Antardweep, or even in Brahma Samhita, you find this Lord Brahma wants to immediately, engage in his eternal constitutional position. The Lord is saying, no, right now you have to do your duty as Lord Brahma. And you have to worship according to Lord Brahma. You have to be in Aishwarya Bhav. But when your lifetime is over, then you can enter into your actual relationship like that. This is all inconceivable. Three. There are three mentioned in Shastra. In the Shastras, three are mentioned. That doesn't necessarily put a limit on it, but that's three are mentioned. Yes, Harini?
Maharaj, you said at the beginning we need to love Krishna in the way he likes. So how can we do that?
Become pure. It becomes natural. Love is natural. Love is not a question of artificial imposition. If we try to impose this right now, we're in a conditioned state, we'll only be speculating and probably committing offenses. It naturally dawns. You are what you are. Even when a child grows up, their natural proclivities manifest in due course of time. Unfortunately, generally they're subdued in our modern age by various educational methodologies. Many times the natural proclivities of a child are subdued. But if a child is placed in the right situation, the natural proclivities can naturally awaken. This is conditional, this is not constitutional, but their natural proclivities will awaken in time by the right association, the right environment, the right practice. And once that's there, then that particular practice becomes quite natural. You have all experienced this. If I ask all of you, probably you all remember a time in your life when it seemed like this something, you have this, I had this when I was about 8 years old. All of a sudden I became infatuated with a sort of a subject which I never had any association with whatsoever in my up to that age. Never taught it, never met anyone who was interested in it. It suddenly became something I was interested in. And it wasn't even I heard about it, as far as I know. It just sort of came up in due course of time. I look back, it must have been something I was doing in a past lifetime, because I wasn't doing it in this lifetime. I actually did it later on. But at that point in time, it wasn't part of my life. But it sort of suddenly I started doing. We often get that, a natural proclivity with it. Who was that? Was it Mozart or Chopin or somebody who was a musician, 3 years old or something? He was composing incredible. Where on earth did he get that from, Was that in his genes? No, I'm not wearing jeans. Any of you got jeans on? I don't think it was in his genes. Well, it was, but, not the way that, Darwin would try to postulate that one. Yeah.
Maharaj, what happens when an acharya comes? Do they still have their pastimes going on in the spiritual world? They're still there, but they manifest.
That depends on when we say an acharya comes. Okay, if you say an acharya comes, we're referring to an eternal associate who appears in this world. It doesn't mean a sadhaka. A sadhaka can also act in the role of acharya. It depends what level of definition one gives to the word acharya. One who teaches by example, even a practicing sadhaka, is to some degree an acharya. On a higher level, of course, an acharya, if we look at it on the absolute, is one who is teaching us how to worship Krishna in the spiritual realm. How to worship Krishna in the spiritual realm. How to make the garlands just perfectly. How to clean the floor. Whatever it may be. These seem like simplistic things, but they're not as... They are, in one sense, very simple. Everything's simple in the spiritual world. In this world, everything is complicated. Acharya has to deal with complicated situations in this world, no matter who they are. So when Acharya comes to this world, do they actually... We're talking here of the eternal associates of the Lord. Like, who are we talking about here? Who are the acharyas we're talking about? Are we? Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti. Basically speaking, yes, these are the eternal associates of the Lord. They have their Swarup forms and they have their Sadhaka forms. They have both forms of there. Prabhupada has written this clearly, that even in this world, internally, and again, where is internal? Internal means spiritual, the spiritual realm. The what's it called? The Bahiranga and the Antaranga Shakti. Both are there. They're both in the spiritual realm, and they appear in this, what we see in this Bahiranga, this external energy. Both. Their sadhaka form and their eternal form, eternal swarup, are not manifest. The eternal swarup is not manifest to us. Rupa Goswami is Rupa Manjari. It's not manifest to us. It's not like they're no longer there, they're just here. No, that's going on. But the question, which is the problem here, is time. The measurement of time, how we look at time. There is no such thing as time in the way we know it in the spiritual realm. It's an inconceivable factor. And Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, we were reading yesterday evening, how he was, many times devotees ask, related, when did the living entity come into this world? Where did we come from? Why we came here? These are questions, aren't they? That sometimes you hear, isn't it? Maybe less now than about 20, 30 years ago. These were almost daily questions that would come up. And there would be at least 4 different answers. And then arguments would ensue. And then parties would be formed. Even amongst the same group, parties would be formed over whether Prabhupada is a coward boy. That's going on right now in one of the prominent Acharya's parties. Whether he's a coward boy or whether he's a Manjari, these things are going on. And there's,
I think it's...
Yeah, but don't put your opinion forward. You'll form another group here. But these things are going on in one of those so-called absolute movements that split off from ISKCON, or whatever you want to call it. They themselves have split into several groups now over that subject, what to speak of other subjects. It's incredible. Way beyond, what the heck who are we to understand these, These are revelations. They're not something which is votes. Okay, all those in favor of Prabhupada being a cowboy, put your hand up. What does it mean, It means nothing. It's nonsense. That's the material world, huh? That's the material world. And Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said, anyone who is, Lord Krishna's pastimes are inconceivable. There's no question of being influenced by time. They're eternal. They're inconceivable. Anyone who's still influenced by time cannot enter into this. We can hear about it. You may be hearing whatever you're hearing through our conditioned senses, but we cannot enter into it. Anyone who tries to analyze and conclude on these things who's still under the influence of time will simply end up, because we're not seeing it properly. We're seeing it from a relative perspective. Yeah? We're seeing it from our angle. You end up arguing and committing offenses. That's what he says. And that's what's going on. You have no vision. That vision is a revelation. It's not some kind of, let's say, okay, we're finished. We're just now coming. Just now coming. The door for prasadam is opening here. The door to the spiritual wood is opening. 30 seconds and we'll be with you. Okay? And it's not something that can be understood by logic and reason or by argumentation or even by study of the scriptures. Does Krishna say he can be understood by study of the scripture? Does he say he can be understood by logic and reason? Does he say he can be understood by chanting for millions of lifetimes? What does he say? Pardon? Unalloyed devotion, not just devotional service, unalloyed, pure, absolutely pure devotional service can be understood. And that includes his eternal associates. You can't understand it. You can say something or whatever you like, but to really understand and really enter into their association, that's another thing. So out of their kindness, they appear in this world before us in the sadhaka rupa or form, to which we can relate with, to show us how we can, first of all, gain liberation, at least that much. The path of Vaidhi Bhakti at our stage is pretty much to gain liberation, isn't it? How to control those blooming senses, how to get free of material desire. Pretty heavy stuff, huh? Even that we can't do. And we're talking about, subject matter which is only realized at Bhava Bhakti or something, Pretty amazing. But out of their kindness they come, and Lord Chaitanya has made even the process at that stage very joyful, very satisfying and very attractive. And even the objective goals, which are beyond their present capacity to touch, just hearing about them brings great enthusiasm and joy and inspiration. So we've got the sadhaka rupa forms for sure. At this point, that as we become purified, then naturally, whoever we are, whoever the acharya is, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written many books describing this awakening, you could say, as we proceed. But most of these subject matters remain a kind of a mental exercise which usually ends up either in doubts, arguments, or something like that, until one reaches at least the nishta stage, liberated stage, beyond our attraction for the sense objects, beyond this identification with the body, which is, amongst other things, what we're doing now. Hare Krishna, we better finish there. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki jai. So I hope you finish the 64 rounds a day. It's a rule. Well, the 4 days you're here, 64 rounds a day minimum, okay? Otherwise you'll understand nothing. Huh?
No, there's no more time. Can I ask something?
Yeah, quickly, you can come round. There's no more time. Yeah? I thought the time was there is no time. We're in the spiritual world, there's no time. Another angle.
I always wonder, Maharaj, like if pastime of the kidnap of the cowper boys was an arrangement by Yoga Maya.
Okay, here we go. Okay, I only told the story briefly. Lord Brahma did not steal the calves and the cowherd boys. Number one, he didn't do it. He stole what's called Mayika forms. Mahamaya, both Mayas were at work. Mahamaya created exact replicas of the cows and cowherd boys. Those are the ones stolen by Lord Brahma, not the original ones. They were the ones in the caves. And the ones you saw on the bank of the Yamuna, they were expansions of Krishna. Well, where were the real ones? Yogamaya they were like under the shelter of Yogamaya. They didn't even realize that a moment had passed. That year was just like with Brahma. It was like it didn't pass at all. It was just like Krishna went and then they came back again. They were enjoying, if you want to call it that, the same pastime for a year from the other perspective. So three calves and cowherd boys were there. The three forms. So Yogamaya. All arranged by Yogamaya.
It's because the mothers wanted to have Krishna as their answer.
Yeah, to fulfill the desires of the mothers, to fulfill the cows' desires. They wanted Krishna as their calf, Krishna as their son. Everyone was satisfied. That's Krishna's pastimes. Everyone can be satisfied. And Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, same thing. We may not be on that level of realization, but Lord Chaitanya is so merciful. He's made it through Sankirtan. Everyone can be satisfied. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Okay. I guess we can dismantle.